This conference will now be recorded.
Someone named Jay Collins, a woman. Okay, so welcome to the June 10th Arlington Senior Democratic Lunch. Our guest today is Kim Klingler, and who's our Commissioner of Revenue, and I'm going to turn it over to her and forgive the background noise.
Hey Jay, nice to meet you. So the first thing I'm gonna do real quick is, I know most of you, you know me, but I'm gonna give you my little dog and pony that'll take all of 3 minutes, I promise. And I'll show the slides up here, so real quick, I'm one of Arlington County's elected officials. Oops. Oh, I gave you two? Okay. All right. So here you have actually a diagram of who is voted by all of Arlington County. We have our county board members, which is 5. We have our school board members, which is 5.
Eight.
Yes, I don't know how they got that, but they did.
So every time pre-election, I always chant 8 more years.
Right? It's so true. And he doesn't want you to remind people of that too. He wants you to spirit the freedom, which I appreciate. So these are my responsibilities. A lot of people will say, what does the Commissioner of Revenue do? So here's 6 things that I do. So we provide checks and balances. Yeah, you got it right there. Oh, it's stapled on the wrong side. Let me give you a new one. All right. So there are over 120 commissioners of revenue in Virginia. And there are 4 jurisdictions that went down to Richmond and said, we don't want a commissioner of revenue and we don't want a treasurer. So they have a director of management and finance. They got permission from Richmond to do so. The other thing we do is we assess all personal property. So that's your car, your boat, your airplane, your motorcycle. The other thing we do is we are the entry point for all businesses. So you get your business license through my office, Commissioner of Revenue. Most people think we assess real estate. We do not. There are other commissioners who assess real estate. In Arlington, that was taken away from the commissioner over 40 years ago. Don't know the whole story, but if you guys know why it was taken away, let me know. There has been discussions about me potentially taking real estate back, but don't talk to me about that until my second term. I have my hands full right now. We got enough to do. We also operate a DMV Select. So if you need to do anything with your vehicle minus your driver's license, we can help you. And there is normally no wait. And if you are waiting, I will bring you my snack basket and I will feed you. And then we do a lot of partnerships. So this part you see in the dark teal, we partner with everyone. This morning I was actually at a meeting with Arlington Economic Development talking about the challenges we see from a revenue standpoint in about 9 months. Because we have 20,000 federal employees in Arlington. We have 25,000 federal contractors in Arlington. And we're trying to figure out how many of those folks still have their jobs. So our numbers right now are good, looking great. But in 9 months from now, it could be a very different story. So moving right along.
But the point on that is that unemployment insurance and all sort of safety net things are funded at the state level, not the federal level.
That is correct, yes. But remember, unemployment is not necessarily going to be a 1-for-1 match with what your salary was either. Okay? Actually, while I'm on that topic, there is a bill called House Bill 1743. And that bill would allow for large corporations to take more deductions than they currently are taking. House Bill 1743. More deductions for large corporations. I'm sorry? So to their gross receipts, to their BPOL, so their business professional and occupational license. So I have been assigned to a work group with the Virginia Department of Taxation. We met a week ago, and between CORVA, the Commissioner of Revenue Association, VACO, the Virginia Association of Counties, and VML, Virginia Municipal League, we're trying to kill the bill. Because if this bill passes, we are going to lose money here in Arlington, and we're going to lose a lot of money statewide. And people don't realize that. So stay tuned for more of that. So it's interesting. It's Vivian Watts who's sponsoring it. Yes, because I think what happened was the chamber got into her ear and they were frustrated because they feel like the way that the taxes are being apportioned is not consistent across jurisdictions. So this bill is trying to fix a problem that is not the right problem it's trying to fix. So I can go into more detail on that later, but just remember House Bill 1743 is fiscally detrimental to Arlington and to Virginia. Really?
Okay, but the point is that the session ended,
Yes.
and it's really packaging it for the next session.
Well, not necessarily. So the we have to come up with a recommend. Virginia Department of Taxation is doing this study. Then a recommendation has to be made by October 5th, which will go back to the Senate, and they may go into special session. So it is possible that this could be covered in special session, or it could be covered, like you said, in the next session when we have a new governor.
Special section in the fall.
That's what we've heard that there might that might occur. I don't know.
It would be up to the county to do that.
Up to Youngkin.
Really? So, look, I can send you, actually, Bob, I can send you information on House Bill 1743. I can show you the presentation deck that we actually gave.
Yes.
Send it out for her.
I mean, I understand what Vivian is trying to do because she's been at it for a long time. She wants things to be easier for big businesses. And I agree. I'm all about standardization and process improvement and alignment, but I don't think this bill is the answer. And a lot of people, VACO, VML, CORVA, agree.
So the bill, yes, it's 10 words. The bill will.
It would allow for additional out-of-state exemptions. It would allow for additional out-of-state exemptions, and some of these states would not actually be taxing the corporation. So it's the equivalent of tax avoidance. Yeah. So that's that. So real quick, I wasn't planning on going on that tangent, but I did. Yes. Yeah. So that's a good question. So I assess. I tell you how much you owe for your car tax, and I tell you how much you owe for your business tax. Carla collects. Okay. In other jurisdictions that don't have a commissioner and a treasurer, their director of management and finance does both of those things. And I will tell you, in those jurisdictions, I mean, they are, in my opinion, they're a little heavy-handed, and they're about tax, tax, tax. Where I'm about, let's be fair, fair, fair. So that's how I look at it.
But a lot of these counties in Southwest Virginia, you know, instead of having a whole office building, they have something like smaller than a church.
Oh, absolutely. No, even smaller, because some of these jurisdictions have 3,000 or 4,000 people. So literally, their Commissioner of Revenue's office has 2 people. And so they're looking for all the money that they can get.
Carla's office is the
Oh, no. No, other jurisdiction. Oh, other jurisdiction. No. Carla has, I think, about over 60. I have 53. Yeah. I have 53 team members, including myself. Carla has over 60. I think she's close to 65, maybe. Yeah. So here is kind of just our snapshot We have over 240,000 souls in Arlington County now. We have over 19,000 business licenses, active business licenses. We have over 104,000 registered vehicles, boats, planes, etc. Yes.
It doesn't sound.
We are still trying to find those who are not registered properly.
You say, what do you mean
So, yep. Yeah, she's got it.
Like if you have two cars.
They are separate. So for instance, yeah, if you have two cars in your household, we count it as 1 and 2. That's discrete. That's how the code reads. I have learned way too much about Virginia code and Arlington code in the last 18 months. Sometimes I think I should go to law school, but I don't think they will. I don't think they'd like me very much. I feel like we need to change.
First of all, learn what it actually means. Sometimes it doesn't mean what it says, or say what it means.
Those arguments all the time. And then our county budget is $1.65 billion. Whole county. So if you flip to the final slide you got here, I like to show everybody the portion of the money revenue I assess. So my office brings in 24%. We assess 24% of the revenue. It's over $400 million here in Arlington County. I also like to point out that my budget, my expenses, are 0.4% of the county's budget. So my office has an amazing return on investment. I wish my stock portfolio was doing that right now. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So amazing. The other thing I want to show you just real quick, and then I will move into joint campaign, is I like to give out this handout. It's getting a little dated now, but these were my top 10 accomplishments this past year. And then on the back, I'll tell you what's on the back here in just a second. So on the front,
Dish with it.
on the front is my top 10 accomplishments. If you look in the bottom, what is this? Right-hand corner, there's a QR code. I actually had 365 accomplishments in 365 days. If you actually want to go read it.
But her accomplishments include surviving meetings of the Arlington Senior Democratic Lunch.
That was one of them. I didn't say surviving. If you flip it over, we do have a DMV Select survey. If you want to scan the QR code or go to the website, you want to know what you think of our DMV Select. You're trying to get the word out. I also have a Dish with the Commish. It's a quarterly function that I do. I do a less abbreviated version of this. And our next one will be in Boston, because we have had a Dish with the Commission every single partnership. So we went to Clarendon Alliance, Columbia Pike Partnership, Langston Boulevard Alliance. We went to National Landing. We've been to Roslyn, and now we have to do our final business improvement district, which is Boston. So we'll do that in October or September. And then we partnered with the county manager's office. This is the pink stuff, to create a Welcome to Arlington kit and campaign. When I first moved to Arlington, I didn't know about this car tax thing. Only 12 states have car tax. So when I moved here, I went to DMV, I got my new license plate, I got my new sticker, and I'm like, is there anything else I have to do? They're like, no, you're cool. Then I parked my car legally on the street, and I took a plane to a work trip, and I came back a week later, and I had 5 parking tickets on my car. And I called the number, I'm like, I parked legally, what's going on? They're like, you didn't have your county decal. I'm like, county decal? They're like, yes, car tax. I'm like, excuse me?
Told me.
What's car tax? So I didn't want that to happen to anyone else. So this has pretty much a checklist of everything you need to do when you come to Arlington County. And we're working with realtors. We're working with Comcast, Xfinity. We're working with Verizon so that they can hand these cards out to people so that when they move here, they know what to do and they don't fall into the trap. Well, so it goes to a website. It does go to a website. So the goal is it just to be like a grip card, and business cards and postcards that we send in the mail. And then you have to go to the website.
Now, how does it work out?
So right now we have some, yes, and it's interesting too because last time we were in Richmond in January, DMV is actually trying to get rid of the stickers on your license plates now too. So if I have a license plate reader, so we have a car that has cameras on it that then connects to the proper software, so we can go around and scan cars. And we can determine whether or not you're registered. We can determine whether or not you're expired. We can determine that because we have this
Reader.
we have a reader. A lot of jurisdictions don't have a reader. They don't have the money to have a reader. They don't have an extra person to drive around a car.
I thought there was opposition to the use of it.
There are. Oops. Yes.
Position, civil.
Yes. Yes, there absolutely is. So let me tell you more about that once I fix your food. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That brisket? That brisket. Thank you.
Anybody?
Actually, I have some.
You go.
Anybody wants some of these?
I might still want to. I wanted to
Sweet
get those, but I
potatoes.
thought I could still. So real quick to answer your questions about the license plate reader. So we have a license plate reader which allows us to determine whether or not cars are registered. I actually joke that I also
Thank you.
joke that I want to get one for my dog because I walk my dog a lot, and I would love to get a license plate reader on her. Yeah, they're starting to make them small enough. Just to share that with you. So let me tell you about the privacy and security challenges. The UCLA was down in Richmond this past legislative session, and they were worried about that they were being used, license plate readers would be used for the wrong reasons. In our office, we use it just to see whether or not the car is registered. Once we determine whether or not it's registered, we delete the information. So the information for us is deleted within 24 to 48 hours. We do not hold on to the information. We do not share it with law enforcement. We do not share it with ICE. We do not share it with anybody except for ourselves. And that has been one of the challenges and one of the concerns about the license plate readers.
So I asked you about,
Yeah.
let's see, license plates in other states, like yours. What do you do with those?
So it depends. Some of them may be military, and they don't have to have a Virginia plate. Or you can also, I can send you guys the link to the website where you can report them. And we can drive through with permission from your management company, or you can report them yourself anonymously online, and then we will take a look. So we are trying to get on top of it, but it's a hard thing to do because we're a very transient area. And there are people who just don't know, like me, they don't know. But then there are people who are truly trying to dodge the system.
Right.
And that is one thing I have learned in my
Right.
18 months. Yes. Yes. But that's one thing I've learned in my 18 months. There are those people who will do anything in their power to dodge the system. And it makes you want to find them even more. Yeah.
Did you end up having to pay those tickets?
I had to pay 2 out of the 5.
Could I ask you about some of your abbreviations?
Yeah.
What's BPOL?
So that's Business Professional Occupational License. It dates back to the War of 1812.
Okay, it's an old one.
Yeah.
BPP
Vehicle Personal Property.
and TOT.
Tourism.
The hotel tonight.
It's a hotel tax.
Okay, great. That's all I got.
Occupancy tax. Tourism occupancy tax.
So you had 365 accomplishments, 365 days. So Doge would give you a pass.
Right?
Now, in terms of policy, do the Airbnb people pay the hotel tax?
Oh, that is such a good question. So yes, they do pay TOT, the hotel tax. The challenge we have with Airbnb is many of finding them, number one. So we were able to we sent an audit letter to Airbnb, and we were able to get 3 months of Airbnb data. And we found out the gross receipts, not the net, but the gross receipts that those Airbnbs were bringing in 3 months in Arlington County was $23 million. And we only had a record of $3 million of business tax gross receipts. So there was a 20 million, they're escaping us. So we are now actually auditing, setting an audit letter every single month to get data from Airbnb so that we can make sure they have their business licenses. The challenge is, though,
Because they have to have a business.
they do. They do. They have to have a business license. No, they will not. They don't make it easy for us. Now, there was a House bill that was passed. I'm going to get the numbers wrong. 2383, which is saying Airbnb now has to, without us asking, has to remit that information to all jurisdictions so we don't know. By July, we're supposed to understand how we're going to receive that data, but we don't know a lot yet. The other challenge we have is the county ordinance, county board, says that in order for you to have an Airbnb in Arlington, you have to live in that property 185 days a year. A lot of these Airbnbs are rented out 365 days a year. In fact, we found a person who has 16 Airbnbs. One six. And they're party houses. I mean, you look at them, you look at the pictures inside, no one's living there. They're party houses. And so not only can we get them for their business license, but then there's something called business tangible tax or business personal property. So we can tax all of their furniture because it's nice furniture. I'm talking stadiums, big screen TVs. I mean, these are nice. And the other challenges, and this is not in my scope of work, is some of these properties are making 6-7 times that they would make a month for rent or for a mortgage. So is Airbnb taking away from our stock of housing that is still affordable in Arlington? Yes, Spain, they were going nuts. Yes. So this is a county board challenge, but my job is to educate the county board on what does the current state look like.
But isn't the basic idea?
Yeah.
If you use like Amazon Marketplace to sell widgets,
Yes.
there are laws that impose upon Amazon the duties to collect the sales tax and remit it to each jurisdiction.
Amazon was not doing those things, but my understanding is that is now occurring.
Right, but I mean, that was because they claimed they didn't have legal presence in Virginia, but once they started opening up stores and warehouses, but I guess the question is it currently the case, or should it be the case, that a similar legal obligation be imposed on Airbnb because they're sort of acting like Amazon Marketplace?
So, I mean, from a T perspective, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're remitting the tourism, the hotel tax. They're doing that. The challenge is in Arlington County, in Fairfax County, if you're renting out a property, you have to have 2 properties in order to need a business license. In Arlington County, it's 1 property. So, for instance, I co-own a townhouse with a friend. I don't live there anymore. She's living there with her family, but I have to claim it as a rental property, even though I'm just breaking even, and I need an Arlington County business license. So there is a question whether or not we do what Fairfax is doing and we say, okay, if it's 1, you don't need a business license. If it's 2, you need a business license. So, I mean, there's policy things embedded in this. And then Arlington County, the county board also has to decide, are we going to require for you to live in that house 185 days a year? Because right now that is not being enforced. It's just not.
People are so angry as it is, or used to be, about high property tax.
I mean, Airbnb is not helping the affordability challenge that we have in the county. And like you were mentioning, in Barcelona, they just shut all the Airbnbs down because people were up in arms. They were up in arms about high cost of living, about their neighbors being new people every 3 or 4 days. Yeah, like a beach community.
Well, it's going to be very tense because as the disruption in the actual populace and employees and turnover happens, a lot of people look to short-term solutions for their real estate situation.
They're not going to be able to cover their mortgage, or they're going to rent a place. They're going to go move in with their parents, or go move somewhere else, and then their home will become a rental property or an Airbnb.
You need a business license.
You're supposed to. So a lot of people don't know that. We have not done a good job of educating. So one of the things I'm trying to do over the next year is meet with the realtors, meet with the military and the State Department organizations, and make sure people realize that Arlington County Code says if you're renting out your home, you should have a business license. Frankly, the amount of money you're getting from just a normal home rental, you're only going to pay $30 a year for your business license. You're not making grandiose amounts of money like these Airbnbs. But it's not, I mean, my bigger priority is the Airbnbs. But I do want to educate folks on if you are renting out your house, your apartment, your basement, technically in Arlington County, you should have a business license. So that means we can help you too. Because we actually partner with BizLaunch, the Chamber, with others to help folks who have businesses. Because if our businesses do well, they bring in revenue, and then it helps all of us.
Want to be up to date on the amount of business occupation. How has Crystal City been coming post pandemic? How much recovery has occurred and how much is left?
It specifics.
Yeah.
City never recovered from BRAC,
Okay.
and then COVID happened,
Right.
and they haven't recovered from COVID.
Okay.
New
Are they moving in the right direction at
They are.
least? Okay.
buildings are getting filled up. The
Uh-huh.
problem is these older office buildings. And so I talked to Fairfax County because they converted some of their older office buildings into data centers.
Uh-huh.
And for instance, Prince William County, they just lowered their real estate tax rate.
Equal to, yeah.
Lowered their real estate tax rate, and they lowered their meals tax rate because Prince William is bringing so much revenue in from data centers. The problem is, though, well, number one, data centers don't bring in a lot of jobs. Number two, they suck energy. And so my understanding is Fairfax County used an old office building to do a data center, but they had to completely create a, what's it called? Yeah. Yeah, there's some special word for it, but they had to do that to make it happen. So I joke around with Crystal City. I'm like, hey guys, can we turn one of these office buildings into a data center?
I mean, do they laugh at you or do they kind of go, maybe that's an idea?
You know,
Again, the energy. Yeah. Uh,
I feel like we're not thinking outside the box enough.
well, that certainly seems to be what's coming with AI. Awful lot of energy.
There's been discussions about those neighborhoods going into brownout because the data centers are sucking so much energy. And can Virginia generate enough energy? Or do we have to get energy from other localities, other states?
Okay, but just for everybody's information, what district energy is, for example, if you have a campus, if you go to the University of Virginia, there's a power station at the edge of the campus that burns a bunch of natural gas and coal or something.
Dedicated.
And then they use all the energy from that, not only to make electricity for the campus, but also to send steam or hot water to heat the buildings on campus. So a centralized boiler for the entire multi-building going rather than just one per building. And so the point was, and this was really sort of going back to the earlier energy consciousness of Jay Fassett and all of those initiatives, that if you have a company like Charles and Smith, with later reincarnations, they could just build a campus of office buildings, have a centralized energy system for it, both in terms of electricity and also
Heating, cooling.
And there's a lot of environmentalist arguments in favor of that because it's more efficient to do it centrally than individually in terms of constituency.
So where were we? So that was that was that presentation. Joint campaign.
Point, what are we making it more efficient to do centrally than?
Yes, just have one big boiler and have steam lines or hot water lines into each building. And that way you can capture the waste heat as we make electricity.
So joint campaign, I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things. So is everyone familiar with a joint campaign is?
Well, why don't you just tell us
Okay.
again? So,
All right.
so there are three joint campaign co-chairs.
Yes.
One of whom happens to be an elected official.
Yes.
And just by coincidence, you volunteered for that job.
But yes. Yes. And so the last time I was the joint campaign co-chair, I was not elected. It was 2009. So it's been a few years since the last time I was a joint campaign co-chair. A lot more technology now. A lot more technology. The other thing I will say too, and this is something I've been talking to Steve about as well, is I think we had a lot more volunteers. I was a joint campaign co-chair back in 2010. I do think COVID kind of made it harder to get volunteers, so we're trying to rebuild.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
I think that what happened was back in 2010,
Yeah.
everybody, including the heads of the different little projects, were invited to attend all of the joint campaign meetings.
Yes, and I did that on purpose.
Right. And then, quite honestly, under Jill, people were disinterested. For example, I've been heading up the mailing of the absentee ballot chase letters since Barack Obama in 2008. And I used to always attend all the joint campaign meetings. I still do the same week, but
Okay.
work, but I've been disinvited from attending any of your meetings.
Oh, well, in that case, if you look further down on the list, I'll go back to the co-chairs in a second, but our kickoff, anyone who wants to volunteer with a joint campaign, we are having a kickoff on Sunday, June 29th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at headquarters in Bristol City. I mean, I come from the mindset you never turn away a volunteer unless they're being inappropriate. You never turn away a volunteer. So our co-chairs are Austin Law, Ian Temu, and myself. And these two gentlemen, my goodness, I think I'm tech savvy. They're more tech savvy than I am. I'm learning from them. But we also are responsible for putting on the gold card events. So you have the Labor Day Chili Cook-Off. We have Honoring a Distinguished Democrat. That is tentatively September 21st, but we will confirm dates. And then we have the Golden Gala, which is tentatively October 11th or 18th, to be confirmed. We have to confirm all this stuff by July, because the gold card needs to go out in July. And then we also have the other initiatives that Bob has kind of alluded to. We have the Brit card, that we are responsible for, the messenger, doing the grip card.
Let's call candidates.
Yes, it looks like this. It's pretty.
Well, also stuff in absentee ballot mailings, so please make them fit into the envelope.
Oh gosh, I remember those days. Yes. And then we are partnering with other campaigns. So of course, the Wednesday after the election, this will be an internal meeting where the co-chairs, we meet, and we hopefully the Wednesday after the election, we will know all of everyone after the primary. Thank you. Hopefully that Wednesday we will know. Might take an extra day, I don't know. We will know who's going to be on our ticket. I know, right? I'm hopeful we'll know by Wednesday. But we hit go. We hit the ground running as soon as we know who was on the ballot for the Downs in November. So next week, theoretically, we hit go. That's it. That's it. We are partnering a lot with the Spanberger campaign. She has a lot of events happening in Arlington, but we don't want her just in Arlington. We want her. She needs to be around the state. She needs to spend a lot of time down in Tidewater, Norfolk, Virginia Beach. I don't think she's got a problem in her. Right.
But the one problem we have every year.
Yeah.
Finance.
Yes.
We have the dollars for Democrats.
Yes. Thank you.
Another thing that she should explain to everybody.
Yes.
That the case of these really has two budgets. The budget that governs the non-election, which is sort of, the thing that interruns. And then there's a special budget for the joint campaign.
Yes.
Which typically runs a surplus that we count on to feed back to the rest of the year budget.
The Bob said it very eloquently. We do have our own budgets. Like Dollars for Dems is technically not part of the joint campaign budget, but it is a great place that we get money from. Our big budget is from the gold card. That is why, of course, Steve Baker, I'm like, Steve, we need to lock in these dates now. He's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, no, we gotta lock it in because I need to get the gold card out in July so I can start making phone calls and make sure people are getting their gold cards. The events are fun. So, I mean, what can you do? I've always been told I have to give you a call to action. So, number one, buy a gold card. Come to the events. We would love to see you. There is a senior rate. Number two, if you would like to do postcards, if you would like to do phone calls, if you would like to do any of those things, we would love to have you. If you don't know what you want to do yet, come to our joint campaign kickoff on the 29th, and we will find a goal that fits you. We absolutely will. I want to make it fun. Every meeting I ask you to come to, I will bring food. I always bring food. I will feed you. Yes, I will.
But I get it's the underlying message is the welcoming volunteers. Volunteers are people with a variety of skills. You don't have to be a computer. And that is the number one message we have to get out.
I will find something for you to do.
What's the name?
We need volunteers. We welcome volunteers. We love volunteers.
We do.
Yes.
But if you want to get involved and you don't know what, I will sit down with you and kind of talk through what do you like? What do you not like? Where is the best place? What is the best fit for you? Or sometimes I volunteer for things that I know nothing about because I want to learn about it. Kim, do you know anything about this? Absolutely not. But I'll volunteer. I'll figure it.
Where is the ACPC headquarters?
So it's still in Crystal City.
It's inaccessible.
The contract is still in Crystal City, off of Richmond Highway. I do believe their contract is coming up. So I know that they are looking to other options right now that may be more accessible. Because even when I went there for the meeting the other day, I had to wait in the lobby for someone to let me out.
But they got a good deal.
They did it at the time they did. The deals are changing.
We're asking people to come to something. have to have an address there every single time.
I will make sure I do that.
Like me,
Okay.
I used to be at the time. Right?
So I'll
And then I look, and then I look on the website. I can't, I don't, maybe.
yes, I agree with you.
It
If I
has to
skip
be easy.
I will send you a calendar invite. I love calendar invites.
I'm going to take the liberty of cutting off this section. And we can keep on talking forever and ever. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in July.